Hey guys, welcome back to Sad Dad. My name's Dave Abkary and I am a comedian out of Fresno, California, and this is a podcast where I sit down with my fellow funny friends, my fellow comedians, and we talk about dads. Hi, how are ya? How you hanging in there? You doing all right? This is quarantine week, I don't know, what is this, week 3? Where are we at? I don't know. Getting wild out there. Man, I just heard they canceled school all the way to the end of the year. If you listen closely, let's take a second. Maybe you won't hear it. Abby's in her room playing Fortnite right now. That's been her social interaction with her friends has been all over Fortnite. Their schools seem to be figuring stuff out. It seems like it varies from district to district. Everything is just so ad hoc right now, you know. I mean, and you're really seeing the disparities when it comes to technology and internet coverage and stuff, you know, between upper and lower class, and it seems like it's really hard for them to get a unified online curriculum for elementary schools, you know. I mean, that's typically something that they don't worry about until rolling out at a mass scale until people are in high school and university levels. So yeah, I think it's getting third grade elementary school curriculum up online in a standardized fashion for literally every kid in the state seems to be something schools are taking is case by case. It seems like they were going to do a Zoom meeting with her class, but we tried to log into it the other day and it didn't work. So I don't know if our teacher goofed something up or if I goofed something up. But anyway, it's that's where we're at, you know. The news is grim, you know. I was actually having it on mute over here. I was thinking about a friend of mine and previous Sad Dad guest, Shauna Christmas. She was on sometime last year. It was about a year ago. From this recording, and she's in New York. She's a nurse. She's in New York on the front lines of this whole thing, and I've been thinking about her a lot lately, and seeing some of her posts on social media. It sounds really, really scary. I was listening to a podcast yesterday. It was a NPR podcast. It was Planet Money, and they were talking about how they're retooling American industry for this whole coronavirus thing, and how all of these car part manufacturers and everything are being retooled to be manufacturing parts for ventilators and stuff. It was pretty interesting. I thought it was really cool. It was very reminiscent of what the United States did during World War II. I've been reluctant to compare the fight with Corona to the fight against our fight in World War II against the Nazis, because I don't want the second you compare coronavirus to Nazis, it's going to start voting Republican. Oh, come on now, we're just telling jokes, just goofs. I got a great guest for you today. It's actually a good buddy of mine, a staple of the Fresno comedy scene. I adore this man, Isaiah Washington. He came over in the midst of a pandemic. We kept a reasonable distance. We touched elbows, that was our greeting, and then we immediately stepped away. Oh yeah, by the way, I finished my porch. I don't know, that's an update for you guys. I finished the porch. The porch is done. The main construction on the porch is done. My dad and I finished that together. I was worried that my dad, my 70-year-old father, would die, from COVID-19. But the real risk, it turns out, was me murdering him in the middle of this project. Because I got a little tense at times. But we finished it. It is done. We got it done. Isaiah Washington, fantastic comedian, good buddy of mine. Asked him to come out. Guy just hit 1 year in comedy, 1 year, and it was a real bummer because it happened right in the middle of this whole thing. And Normally we make a big stink about somebody's, comedy birthday like that, give them a little extra time on stage. But we couldn't do that. And our, the Full Circle Olympic show just turned a year old too. And it's a bummer we couldn't celebrate that either. So this thing's, it's taking a lot from everybody. But if that's the worst I have to endure, then, I got off lucky. So, but yeah, here we go, guys. Without further ado, great chat. Isaiah Washington. Yeah, man. This is my first post quarantine.
Post quarantine.
Yeah. First. I ran out of. I usually keep a bunch in the can, and I ran out.
Oh, okay.
So thanks for doing this. You're
no problem,
literally
man.
saving my ass. I can't even remember the last time I saw you. What was?
I think it was a Full Circle night.
Yeah. It was like a Wednesday. Who was that? Was Rena and Nick. That's right.
Yep.
Yeah. What have you been doing? How you been holding up?
It's been okay. I drove for Uber for a little bit, but now I'm not. I just got a job at Amazon, so I'm about to rest my life.
That's right. I forgot you were working there. Yeah. How are you liking that?
No, I actually start this Friday, so
okay.
I haven't even started yet.
Yeah.
I just did the introduction meeting and stuff like that.
Are they still hiring like 1 million people?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
I just know they did another wave last Friday because one of my friends just got in. So they're just hiring.
Yeah. That's nuts. So you're gonna work? Yeah, this one is right here.
I'm actually working on the one on Cedar and Orange.
Oh,
It's where they deliver basically.
Oh yeah, that's right there. No, it's not that one. That's Orange. Oh no. This is Orange. That's north.
Yeah, Cedar and Orange, I think it's close, but it's...
Wait, Cedar and Orange, that's... I don't know. Are you sure it's not Central and... I think it's Central and Orange.
Central and Orange?
Yeah.
Oh, they said Cedar and Orange.
Did they?
Yeah.
Because this is Cedar right here. And, those streets run the same direction. The next street over is Orange. Yeah.
Oh, then... I don't know. I got the addresses on Cedar. But the person in the instructions, because when I filled out the application, I didn't know that they had 2 different job sites. I only knew about the fulfillment center.
Yeah.
And then once I got there, they're like, "Oh, you applied for the Cedar and Orange one." I was like, "Oh, okay,
cool,
yeah,
whatever."
I need a job.
Yeah, no shit. Were you how far into it were you driving for Uber?
All the time.
Yeah.
It was what I got by on. That's all I was doing.
Yeah. Did that start to get scary after a while, or were you
Well, to be honest, my car actually had car troubles right when the virus was popping up. So I'm like, it's kind of a bad thing because I'm like, oh shit, I can't fix my car right now because of. But I don't know. It didn't really get me too nervous driving people. I don't know why. It's just
so whatever. Yeah.
Everyday life.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to avoid big crowds at the most.
Yeah.
And
it's kind of
because I don't know what to really do other than stay in the house.
Yeah.
And then avoid people.
Yeah, man. You're the first person. No, I take it back. I had the girl that cuts my hair came over the other day. I usually go to she works at a salon and stuff, but I messaged her. I was like, do you do in home?
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, I could come by. I was like, fuck yeah. So that was cool. But it's still other than my parents and my kid, I haven't seen anybody. You know, it's wild.
Have you gone a little crazy yet?
I rearranged my house, and then my porch is all tore up right now because I rebuilt the whole thing.
Okay.
The whole thing. And I did that with my dad, and it was I don't know, it was good. I didn't kill him. I think my dad is kind of losing it a little bit.
Okay.
Cause he was doing some fucking Mickey Mouse ass measurements and cuts, and I'm if you look close enough, you can kind of tell, but but from a distance, he's like, once you paint it, it'll be fine. All right, Dad, whatever. But I don't know, man. So you grew up here, but then you also grew up in.
No, I grew up in Fresno.
Uh-huh.
I just have a lot of later on, when I was older, I moved to Cleveland for a while.
Ah, that's right.
So
okay.
I grew up till I was 17 in Fresno.
Uh-huh.
And like, so all my schooling was out here. I went to Del Mar, and then I went to Tenaya and then Bullard.
Mm-hmm.
And I lived in the Tower District area growing up most of my life. And I took like a transfer to Bullard, and then I lived by McLean, and I was still going to Bullard though. It was but Fresno's been my hometown.
Yeah. Do you have a big family? I don't know literally nothing about your.
Not really.
You brought your sister to Full Circle one time to do her homework.
Yeah, to do her homework.
What's that situation?
Well, she was going through it with my mom, and I like got her out the house, and basically it was like kind of weird because some people thought I was like on a date with some girl, and I like, but I didn't explain it to anybody. I just had some girl there doing her homework.
Girl, Isaiah's just leading around.
Yeah, and then like, cause I'm like all my siblings are half siblings, so there's really like you can't tell that they're my brothers or sisters. Like my brother's full black, my little sister's full Mexican. So it's like so when I bring her around, like I have to explain, like, oh, that's my sister.
That's funny.
Same thing with my brother. I'm like, I had to explain, hey, that's my brother right there.
Yeah.
And that was just a weird situation.
Yeah.
And she was in a mood where she didn't want to talk to anybody, so I wasn't trying to force her.
That's real. I wouldn't want to talk to all those fucking gross ass comedians.
Yeah.
Fucking gnarly ass dude. What does she think about what you do?
She really doesn't have an opinion.
Yeah.
It's just like whatever.
Yeah,
she likes TikTok, man. So
yeah.
She loves those comedians over stand up. I'm like, God damn it.
These kids with the lost generation. That's wild, dude. Yeah, because she's like, because she's
15.
15? Oh yeah, she's like 10 years. She's like a different person.
Yeah.
They don't. These kids don't know.
All she knows is internet.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. Well, you grew up like I don't know. We were just talking about how I grew up out here, like in the fucking sticks and stuff. But you grew up in a very different part of Fresno.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I grew up in a very rougher part of Fresno.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of my family. Like when I was younger, a lot of my family lived in Fresno. They moved out over time. But like a lot of my cousins and stuff were like they got into gang stuff early on. Mm-hmm. So like I was around it, but I never got into it.
Yeah.
I was just like part of the action sometimes.
Sure.
Not doing anything wrong. Let me clarify. But like the stupid stuff, like I remember like every time like a helicopter would roll over like with the lights, we would try to run into the lights to act like we're chased, like that type of stuff, like just stupid stuff, just stupid little
like
stuff.
It's just a game.
Yeah, it's like somebody like probably did something horrible and we're just trying to get into the light.
When you're kids, you're bored, you just fucking make up dumb games, man.
Like, we used to blow up so many firecrackers.
Did you? What kind of kid were you though? Like, were you like a smart, like overachieving book nerd type of kid, or just quiet, or like what? I mean, or were you like real outgoing? Did you play sports?
Yeah, I played football and baseball when I was younger, and wrestling and middle school football. After that, I didn't play anything else. So I didn't play football in high school or anything like that. But growing up, I was real quiet, observing people. I would only talk to the people like I really knew and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I grew up around foster kids, so like I really didn't have to make friends with the neighborhood like that because all my friends were already
in the house.
So it was just like,
what's that like, dude? We have like a rotation, like a constant rotation of like people in the house.
Yeah, cause it was a weird situation because my mom wasn't a foster parent, but who we lived with, because we lived in a guest house, and who we lived with were foster parents.
Oh, interesting.
They had like 5 foster kids at a time.
Yeah.
And it was just wild because because all of them were older than me. I was like 9 and they'll be like 13. Because this was like a level 10 house. It's like the last house. And if you get kicked out of that house, you got to go to a group home.
Oh, wow.
So like a lot of those kids were like crazy.
Yeah.
But they're cool, but they're just
sure, and they've probably been in the system for a long time.
Yeah, they've been through so much stuff. So by the time they get there, it's like, wildness, and I'm just out there playing with them. Just like crazy stuff, man.
Do you feel like that affected you maybe in like a positive way? Like, do you feel like you learned how to like deal with difficult people better because of it, or do you think it did more damage than good?
It did both. It affected me. Like, I always knew that anything that I went through in life wasn't that bad, because I would meet people where I'm like, oh, these are horrible situations. Like, I'll talk to them.
Yeah.
And then, but the negative was like, you'll be really close with somebody, and then you wake up one day and your best friend's gone.
Jeez.
And you never see him again. Like, some of those dudes I played with for years, and I don't even know where they are anymore.
Wow.
So there was some like abandonment issues.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So that's why like sometimes I'm very like, I don't get too close to people.
Yeah.
Like, growing up my whole life, there was that. Even with my dad, it was that too. So it was like I don't know. Sometimes I don't get too close. It takes a while for me to open up to people.
Yeah. Like that. And you said you have an older brother. Are you guys like close in age, or?
No, he's younger. He's 2 years younger.
Gotcha.
He lives in Cleveland. He grew up in Cleveland, and we grew up together like till I was about 10 years old, and then he took off. But we had different moms and stuff, so it was just.
Sure.
But we stay connected and stuff like that.
Oh, that's good.
I visit him every once in a while. He came down here recently.
Uh-huh.
So we got a good relationship. It's just we didn't grow up all the time together.
Yeah, that's real. One thing you do, it's the funniest fucking thing. So I'm sure you've heard this story about fucking Anthony Dugan looking up all the Bulldog music videos.
Oh, yeah.
And realizing that they directed you directed game videos.
Yeah, I did that.
But that was one of the things I was going to ask you about. Is like, that's a big part of what you do too. Is like videography. And how'd you get into that?
Okay. All right, I'm going to be honest. It's not the best story, but
it's all right, man. That's what we're here for.
The way I got into it was because at 17, I was getting in trouble at home with my mom and stuff. And then she like kicked me out, and I had to move in with my dad in Cleveland, Ohio. And my brother was 15, but he was like a rapper. Like, that's all he did, was just rap. He was pretty good at it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But he was also like, my brother's a lot crazier than me. Like, when it comes to like getting in trouble. Like, so he was always like fighting, doing wild stuff. So when we were out there, he was rapping, and we were trying to figure out a way, like, how can we make something happen with this?
Yeah.
And I used to record him with the phone all the time. And then I thought to myself, like, okay, I should invest in a camera with better quality.
Yeah.
Then I ended up graduating out there in Cleveland, and I come back to Fresno, and when I'm on my way back, because I was taking the Greyhound like on the second day back, my dad called me. He was like, your brother got locked up. So he got into like a crazy fight, and he broke some dude's jaw and stuff like this.
Jeez.
But he already had past stuff that he did. So later on, I find out they gave him 2 years in juvenile hall.
Damn.
And then so I was like, oh, by the time he gets out, this was my plan. Like at young, I was like, by the time he gets out, I'm going to be dope at making music videos, just so we could do something together and blow up. So that's what I started doing. I just started lying to people. I was like, I know how to shoot music videos, and I learned on the way. Next thing I know, I get dragged into it.
Yeah.
2 years later, my brother gets out, and he's like, "Oh, I don't want to rap anymore." So I'm like, "Oh."
So you don't understand the people I've been affiliating myself with.
Yeah, I've been doing this all for you, man. Even though I did fall in love with it, but I'm like, this is all for you. You don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah. But that's still though. I mean, like you. So that's like what 10 years ago. So you know, 10 years of videography experience under your belt by accident.
Yeah, by accident. Once I started making money off of it, I was like, oh, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I had to do I didn't have to do it, but I went to a lot of sketchy places to shoot music videos and just.
Yeah, you got a pretty good bit about hopping a fence.
Yeah.
Is that how much of that is true?
Basically 90% of it. The only part that's not true, I would say, is they didn't lock the gate on us.
Okay, well, just so people,
Yeah.
you're telling people what didn't happen, but what did happen? And
Okay. Basically, I was shooting a music video at an abandoned warehouse, and then to get out, I had to hop a fence, and I got stuck on top of the fence.
And you guys were not supposed to be there.
And we weren't supposed to be there. It was a bad situation. My pants got ripped, and I was just caught. And so that's basically, I don't want to give away the whole bit.
Sure, yeah, you don't need to run your whole bit.
But that's basically what happened in my bit. But what really happened was, in my bit, I say that somebody locked the gate on us. But I knew beforehand, like we jumped the gate to get in, but it was through an alleyway, and there was like a ghetto couch, and I stepped on top of it, so I was able to hop it. And I knew the whole time while I was shooting the music video that this is going to be a problem. Like, so the whole time in the back of my head, I'm like, oh, this is going to be horrible. Like, how am I going to do this? Yeah. And then my friends just hopped it super quick, not even thinking about me. And then I kind of like didn't want to say, help me, like give me a spot. So I tried to do it, and then I got stuck on top. That's like, everything basically is true. I just don't know how to put that first part in it.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's good, dude.
Yeah.
You're doing the videography thing for a while, and then you just hit like a big milestone, that the year in stand up.
Yeah.
It's been, what a fucking year it's been, dude. You've been tearing it up.
Thank you.
But I remember seeing you like at Grog's, like, I'm like, what's this guy doing here? Like he's coming, like he's sitting, and like you're coming pretty regularly, and like you were pretty quiet, and I kind of had to like, I would always try to say hi to you. Like, I mean, I don't know if you remember that. I remember, and then you asked me if I needed help with like posters and stuff, and but like where was how did that whole stand up comedy thing, like where did the seed for that come from? I mean, were you always like a big stand up fan growing up, or?
No, interesting. No, I didn't really grow up with stand up. I grew up. I didn't even know how stand up was done. Really, I seen Eddie Murphy and Richard Pryor and stuff like that, but I didn't, because I didn't grow up with cable or anything. So I used to watch PBS all the time. But like I didn't watch the Dave Chappelle show and stuff like that till later on.
Right.
So what got me into it, like, I'm going to be honest, at a music video shoot, one day I got drunk and we were hanging out afterwards. And I just went on a riff. This is like the first time I would say I officially did stand up without knowing. I went on a riff. There was like pretty girls there from the music videos, dudes. It was a full house. Went on a riff about KFC beefing with Taco Bell. And I killed. In my drunkenness, I felt like I killed.
It felt good.
Yeah. And then something in my head was like, hey, I should like try doing that. But at the time, like, it was such a shift in what I was doing that I was like, no, that's stupid. Like, why would I even think about doing that? Because I'm so way over here in a different lifestyle where people over there, they look at stand-up like, stand-up? That's like corny to them. Until you're big.
Right.
Like, so
it is a pretty corny thing.
But then later on in life, we'll probably get into it, but I don't know. My dad passed away, and I went through like a little depression stage, and my camera broke around the same time.
Oh, shit.
And like all this stuff was going on, so I stopped doing videos. I was working a job at inventory service, and then I like stopped one day. I was just like, I'm not working here.
Yeah.
And so I was like in a bad way for a while, and I just was like looking up stuff about videography actually at CMAC, and then I seen a thing they did, like a comedy special or whatever. I was like, oh, what's this? I'm going to be honest. So I was like, oh, these guys are okay. It's like, I think I could do that.
Yeah.
And then I started like really deep diving into comedy and what it is, and then I found a couple podcasts and like and then I was like, oh, okay, so you got to go to open mics first and then build them. Like, I really just thought people just got on stage and were funny.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was like a whole craft behind it.
Sure, yeah.
So I was like, okay, and then I started writing. And then that's when I looked up Fresno comedy scene. And then I seen Grog's, went over there, and for like 4 or 5 months, I was just
Yeah, you circled the drain for a long time.
Yeah,
I'm sure you're.
But
just
I only
sizing
knew
everybody
about
up.
Grogs. I didn't know about the Chicos, but I was just there watching. I was just nervous. So
Yeah, man. It's fucking scary as shit. Yeah. One thing I was gonna ask you about too is like you have this. I mean, like your writing style. Obviously, it fluctuates. I mean, you have not fluctuates, but like you have some diversity to your material, which that I think is interesting. Where like you've got like the raunchy like set up punch jokes, but you also have some of these bits that are just so. I don't want to say weird, but maybe imaginative. You know, like you have. I mean, like a bit that comes to mind is your bit about going to war for a king.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like you're just like where does that come from? You know, like and I guess maybe that's my question is like where. When you're coming up with a bit, like where are you going in your head, or like where? I mean, are you looking for influences? Are you like reading a book, or like what? You know, where do you find most of your material?
A lot of my material comes from my head, but like just like randomly, I'll just think about it. I call it kind of like I kind of have like high thoughts, but I don't even smoke anymore. But like where I'm just like, what if this person, like I got a bit I'm going to work on like about silent letters, how I think it's a king that just didn't know how to spell right, and my mind goes into like oh maybe he forced everybody like to spell it this way when Y should have really always been spelled with just a Y, but now it's WHY. But it's just like I don't know where it comes from.
Just picking apart the minutia of life, like what? Yeah. So I get it.
And I think a lot of it is like I'm a history dude. I like a lot of history stuff, so a lot of my stuff does come from history. Like that was always my favorite. So it was interesting to me to see how people used to live and just ways that people analyzed life back then. So a lot of my stuff does come from that, but I just get waves sometimes in my head. It's just like, oh, let me think about this. Like,
yeah.
I'm not really sure where it comes from.
Yeah, that's all right. Maybe don't ask too many questions because then you start thinking about it.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, how do I write jokes?
How do I write? Do I even write jokes?
Who are these jokes? What's going on? Yeah. That's amazing. Well, congratulations on a whole year in stand-up.
Thank you.
I wish that this wasn't happening.
Oh man!
Right
and
now.
I want to say thank you to you guys too.
Oh yeah, man,
for putting on the mics and stuff.
No worries, dude. It's our pleasure. But yeah, man, you're doing great. You're one of my favorite open mic hosts too. Like you crush it. You got a real knack for hosting. I feel like.
Yeah, I was really. I was really nervous about hosting because I'm really bad at reading it. Like that's real, but that created a bit in itself. I was like, oh, I gotta write a bit about not being able to say people's names. Now it's actually a bit that works a lot.
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
hey, that's cool.
Yeah, I talked about this on the show last week, but I had this like terrible dream, and it was partially your fault because you put up this post about. What was it? It was like something like if you guys don't come back with 5 minutes of material when this is all over, like what are you even doing? Or something like that. Yeah. And I had this dream where I was on stage. It was like the first show after the quarantine had ended, and like I didn't write anything, or at least I didn't remember any of the new stuff I had written. But then I also didn't want to like talk about quarantine bullshit because I figured like everybody would be talking about that. And so I just like froze, and I didn't know what to do, and like everybody's just staring at me, like all my friends, and like there's all this pressure because it's like you're literally the first fucking comedian we've seen in 6 months, Dave. Like you better fucking do something. And I'm just like. And that was your fault. Thank you for that nightmare.
Yeah. I was just kidding.
It's so good.
No, I was, but I'm not.
I mean, you're not wrong. That's for sure.
At least try something new.
It's just hard to like. It's just so you got to dig so deep right now because like there's so much low hanging fruit, like quarantine bits and like virus bits and like. But like to like think about like shit outside, like to think about stuff right now that's going to be funny in 6 months from now seems so hard because we're like so in the thick of this crazy thing right now, you know. I don't know if you're running into that problem.
Yeah, I'm having that issue too. And have you had issues about some of your other bits where I'm like, oh, this might not work anymore because of the...
I was thinking about that too. Like, I went on, again, another rant about this last week, but like, I was like, what if people just don't think things are funny anymore? You know what I mean? Like, what if like our collective unconscious changes to the point that like, unless it's like 2 or 3 lines slapped on top of a meme, like they don't want to laugh at anything, you know? And I was talking about this with another comedian last night too. And like, so yeah, it's gonna be a weird like thing to come back to. You know, it's like, you know, remember that. I know you just got done with this awful thing happening to you guys, but you want to laugh about these dick jokes?
Yeah.
Like, I got dick jokes.
Yeah. Because I have like a line on there of one of my jokes where it's like, a lot of people say we're living in crazy times. I don't think so. Now, like, I'm rethinking that. Like, but I use that line to transition to something, right. So I'm like, oh, I think I got to figure out a different way to get in here because it kind of is crazy times right now. Right. And
yeah, I guess you could be like, we live in crazy times now, but this wasn't the only crazy time.
Oh, like, yeah, something like that.
Something, I don't know. Yeah. Now we're just workshopping jokes.
Yeah. Sorry, folks. Sorry, guys. They're like, we don't even like comedy. We listen for dads. That's it. We got daddy issues, and you're talking about comedy.
I think we're warmed up here. Well, you're Isaiah Washington.
Yes, I'm Isaiah Washington.
And this is a show called Sad Dad. We talk about dads, as you just mentioned.
Okay.
You mentioned your dad. You have a dad.
Yeah.
And I was telling you earlier, like I kind of like to start at the beginning with stuff. So I mean, like where did your dad grow up?
My dad grew up in a small area called Paris, California. Ooh. It's in Moreno Valley.
Oh wow, what's that place like?
It's kind of like where you live at. It's very country, dirt roads.
Yeah.
Houses are separated. My grandpa owned a land out there, and he had like a couple houses on his property and stuff like that. And then later on, my dad moved to Hanford, California. And that's where he grew up. Like his high school years were out there.
Sure. Was he part of like? Did he have like a big family? Was he a lot of brothers and sisters? Or
yeah. Well, it was 6, so it was decent size.
Yeah. Where was he at in like the lineup? Do you know?
I'm not sure. I can't think about it off the top of my head right now. But he was I think he was the second to the youngest.
Oh, okay. But so he was on the back end of it.
Yeah, he was the back end.
Do you have any sense of what he was like as a kid? Was he a fun kid? Was he?
I don't really know, to be honest.
It's okay. Yeah.
I heard like they just used to like play in the country all the time.
Yeah,
the
fucking dirt.
Yeah, dirt stuff.
Dude, it's so funny. Like I think about it now, like as an adult, and I don't know if I think it. I feel like I'm dumb as a kid, but I also think about like my parents. Like I used to like our favorite thing to do, because this used to be grapevines, and like they would irrigate the grapevines, and it was just basically like just a giant mudslide. Like cool. You could just fucking run and just fucking dive in like it's a slip and slide, but it's just mud. But like it's irrigation water. Like this shit isn't clean. Like my parents are just fucking like watching my brother and I roll around like fucking pigs out there.
Yeah, I did something similar with the when it would rain, sidewalk water.
Oh yeah.
I don't think I could get the coronavirus. we were playing in sewer water.
Dude, kids are so fucking weird about that. Like my daughter, like she'll do this thing that drives me insane. Like if she sees like a dusty surface like outside, she'll just run her finger along it. I'm like, oh, like I'm just like, oh, it's like nails on the chalkboard to me. And she's just like, like I'm like, stop doing that.
There's something about that dust on your finger that was like interesting.
Yeah.
But I can see there was a lot of things as a kid I did where I'm like, oh, why did I do that?
Yeah.
Why did I do that?
Yeah, man. It's just, so your dad's out there playing in the mud, playing in the dirt. Doing country stuff. Do you know was he like a good student, or was he into sports? What was he like?
He was into sports. He played football. He was a decent student. I wouldn't say a great student, but a decent student. He played football all the way to junior college.
Oh wow!
And then so he moved to Hanford, And then he went to West Hills College. It's a college in Kalinga. Not the one in Lemoore.
Like a junior college.
Yeah, it's a junior college. That's where him and my mom met at.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah.
But like I don't know too much about like how he grew up really. Like, I don't got too much information. I just know where and
that's all right. How does what does he end up doing after college?
Well, this is where it takes a turn. All
right, I'm into it.
So, well, okay. He was always into street stuff since he was a kid. So that I do know. Like, and then he got into like, well, my dad basically joined the gang, and in L.A. Like, I don't know how that ended up happening, but he's from L.A. hood, and then he in Hanford, like, he surrounded himself with gangsters. So even at West Hills, he was already like a gang member, but he was just like in junior college. So, but afterwards, after college, I don't think he didn't graduate the junior college, so I think he dropped out after like a year, and then he just basically got into drug dealing, making money like that. Just that's how he got connected to Cleveland, because he used to do stuff back and forth from California and Cleveland. So there's a lot of stuff I really won't say, but like, he got into a lot of like crazy stuff, and I just remember like being young, like, cause my dad and my mom were on and off, especially when I was young. Like, they were more together when I was young, so I would see him, but then he'll disappear for like 3 months, and then he'll come back, and I'll see him for like 4 months, and he'll disappear. But like when I would see him, sometimes he'd be really broke. Or sometimes we'd be in Las Vegas in hotels for weeks. I'm like, and I didn't understand as a kid, like, he never goes to work. How the hell does he got all this stuff?
That's wild.
But like, so as a kid, it didn't click in until later on. Like, oh, I get it. You're doing other stuff. But he was very good for hiding it from me. Like, I knew he was around gangsters, but like what he actually did, like he hid it from me. But
what was he like as a dad? You know what I mean? Like, was he real involved, or I mean, you know, obviously he's leaving for you know, business purposes, but like he's coming back, and what's that like?
He was one of those dudes that like when he was around, he was loving and caring. He liked to drop a lot of information. So he would have grown talks with you when you're like 9 years old. Telling you about like life, about the life he knew. So it's like a lot of street stuff, like don't let somebody do this to you. It's like a lot of like, I'm like, okay.
It's real talk.
Like real talk. Like he would cuss at me, dude, like whatever. And like just like, always stay on your toes. That means like always be alert. He was having grown talks with me when I was young. He was cool, but then he had a dark side too, where it wasn't that cool. So like growing up, I had a love-hate relationship. Because there was some like I used to get hit sometimes and stuff like that. But it was like it's like he could be so good, and then he could be bad at the same time. So I was confused as a kid. I'm like, do I love this dude or do I hate this dude?
Right.
And that's what stopped me from like drinking and smoking for a long time. Because I didn't, even though like growing up, a lot of my friends did drink and smoke, but I used to try to always blame like, oh, my dad hit me because he drank or smoked weed. But a lot of times he was sober. So again, like growing up, I'm like, I got to a point where I realized like, oh, he was sober a lot of those times. So this has nothing to do with drinking or weed smoking.
That's a lot that's a lot to swallow right there.
He's just crazy.
What I mean, I don't know. You're saying your mom and dad were pretty like on and off. So I mean, was it like, did you have to like witness some of like their disagreements, or were they pretty like low key about that, or I mean, was it kind of like a loving relationship until it just wasn't anymore? Or I mean, do you have any memory of that?
My mom was very good at like not putting down my dad.
Oh,
Or
okay.
like not talking bad about him and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So when they were around, it was cool. Like they would get into arguments, but nothing too big.
Yeah.
And
were you? I mean, was there a while where you were like an only child? I mean, is that?
yeah, basically, I wasn't because my little brother was born, but he didn't live with me. So like when they would be together, I wasn't around my brother at the time.
Right.
So and that's where a lot of the conflict would come in because my brother was born 2 years after me from a different woman while they're still together. So
Sure. Yeah.
there's a lot of infighting from that.
Yeah.
But they were cool. They just they're opposites. They just like there are little things they didn't get along with, just and it would come out. You would see it, and it's just like he was the type of dude that wouldn't blow up though. He would just take off. So it was like you wouldn't really see the fight. It was just be like, all right, I'm gone. He always used to have a suitcase next to the closet.
Oh, like a go bag.
Yeah, whoop, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
And then so I didn't. So to me, it's just what it was. It's
Sure.
like, he's here sometimes. He's not here other times. That's
I'm gonna go play Super Nintendo.
Yeah, basically. I think if you start them young, start doing that young. See, if you want to get a divorce when they're 13, there's problems. But when they're 5,
Go for it. Yeah.
Go for it.
Oh, that's wild. And actually too, like I wanted to talk a little bit about your mom because I mean, obviously you spent the majority of your childhood with her.
Yeah.
Right. What's she like?
She's a very Mexican woman. She went to West Hills, and then afterwards she started started a business, a cleaning business. And then she's very strong, very independent.
Yeah.
Always on the go.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
she's a hustler. She's always doing something. So she basically just built her business from ground up, took care of me.
Yeah.
And I don't know, she's very direct. She'll tell you if there's like something wrong, she'll tell you right away. Like she's going to let you know.
Yeah.
She's like the opposite of me, but I love her.
Yeah.
And it was funny though, because I was telling her about comedy, and she was like, "Oh, I wanted to do comedy when I was younger." Like she was like, thought she could be a comedian. I was like, "What?" Because like when I thought the first time I told her, I was like, "Oh, she's going to look at me like I'm crazy," but she was like, "Oh yeah, I thought about doing comedy."
Oh, no
like,
shit.
Oh, that's cool. I'm like, and she's like has a comic mind, but like how would I put it? Like a Aaron Lewis type of comic. Well, nobody knows who Aaron Lewis is, but
it's just
she going to
aggressive
say
off the wall.
Yeah, she's going to say something that's crazy, like a shit joke out of nowhere, like that type of stuff. That's not really my comedy, but it's
Sure.
that's what type of sense of humor she had. And then my dad's type of sense of humor was more thoughtful. Like he was more like me. Like we're born one day apart. Like
Oh no shit.
Like the way he thought was more like me. He just did crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's wild, man. You have and she's got to have a big family, or maybe, well, I don't know, because like every time you're like, hey, like I got my family coming out, and then like 900 people show up, like so you do have a big family.
I do, but I don't. I have a big friend family
I see.
in Fresno. I do have a big family, but my mom came from Texas, McAllen, Texas, which is at like the bottom of Texas next to Mexico.
Yeah.
And out there, family is huge. But she was like the one person that left.
I see.
So when she came out here, she was by herself. And then a lot of my aunts and stuff moved to Fresno. They stayed out here for about 6-7 years, and then they ended up moving back. So really, when it comes to family out here, I don't have too much like blood family. But I ended up making a lot of friends and stuff like that. So I got a lot of friend family out here.
Yeah.
But I do have a big family. Like every time I go back to Texas, or if I go to the Moreno Valley area, like it's big. It's just Fresno itself, not huge out here.
Right. Yeah. One part of your story I wanted to ask you about was there was a point where your mom kind of got fed up with you, and she's like, "Fuck it, go live with your dad." What was that like? I mean, what was that period of time like, and what was your relationship like with your dad at that time when you were obviously much older? You know?
Yeah. So I was 17. All right, I'm going to set this up. All right. End of junior year, I get kicked out of Bullard. Mm-hmm. My transfer got rejected, so I couldn't go back for my senior year.
Yeah.
And then I was kind of low on credits, and then they were telling me, like, you could go to McLean, do a year there plus summer school, and then you'll graduate, or you could go to J.E. Young, which is the home school, and you could make up credits faster. Uh-huh. So I ended up going to J.E. Young, and my mom worked so much. So, like, at the beginning, I was going, but it was, like, really, you did it by yourself. So nobody would check in on you. So after a while, I was just like,
that's not good for a teenager.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not going to show up. And there was a park that I used to hang out with that my friends would be at. And so I would go over there. And then my mom's, so basically, like, after 4 weeks of not going, because you had to go in, check in once a week. After 4 weeks of not going or filling up the packages, they finally called my mom, and then we got into it. Then I told her, like, okay, I'm going to go. And I went, like, 1 week, and then I stopped going for, like, 3 weeks. And then she was, like, finally fed up.
Yeah.
And she, like, her threat was always, like, I'm going to send you with your dad. But she would never do it. So I was like, okay, go ahead, send me. Uh-huh. And then I woke up and, like, my stuff was packed, and she had a Greyhound ticket.
Oh, fuck.
I was like, oh, wait, we're really doing this.
This is actually happening, huh?
Yeah. It was like, okay. I still thought it was an April Fool's joke until I got to the bus station. I was like, oh, no.
Oh, no. She's being real.
Yeah. And at the time, I was scared of my dad. I'm going to be honest. So I was 17. I was scared of my dad because of the past stuff. And I thought, like, oh, man. Like on the way to Cleveland, I was looking at places where I could hop out, and I used to do a little poetry. I was like, maybe I could stand on the street corner and sell poems for $1 and make money. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I was so terrified.
It's a very 17-year-old thought.
I was so terrified. And so I'm like, fuck. Like, once I see my dad, and like, he's going to hit me or something. Like, I was terrified of that. But, like, when I got there, we hadn't seen each other since I was 14, so it was like a 3-year span. Mm-hmm. So once I got there, he was super cool. And I was still kind of like, wait, what's going on? But, like that's when he started apologizing for stuff he did.
Oh, interesting.
So that was one of the best times for us to link up because, like, he was still the same, but he was different. He didn't hit me anymore. He didn't.
Sure. Well, I mean, you were probably as big as he was.
Yeah, but it's still like when you get hit when you're younger, you look at that person like they're always bigger than you, no matter what.
Right.
And then he just had a different attitude about it. And then he was like really involved because I have sisters over there too from my brother's side.
Yeah.
So like it was like a different. I was almost jealous because it's like he's over here taking my sisters and stuff to school. And I'm
right. He's
like,
kind of being like the
dad. I was like, where the hell was this at? So, but we grew a relationship that year that if that didn't happen, I wouldn't have been close to my dad. Because after that, we got pretty close.
Yeah.
And we were able to talk about stuff. We were very open to each other. We were able to talk about anything like that.
Do you know what changed for him in that time? Like, I mean, did he go to therapy or something? Or like, what happened?
I think just, having girls.
Uh-huh.
And over time, just, I don't know exactly, but just, his demeanor was different. And I think living in Cleveland was different too, because he had a very jail mentality in California. Uh-huh. So like the reason why he would hit us and stuff like that was like prepare us for the streets. Huh. Like, cause like when you're out there, really the people do test you, and he was always like, you gotta be ready. And if you could take my hits, you could take anybody's hits. That was like his mentality. So he would come out of jail just like fucked up in the head.
Wow. Yeah.
And then out there, it was like he was away. He was still a gang member, but he was away from. All his stuff was in California, so he was like a family dude. And I think over time, it was just like he kind of like grew away from that and could look at it like, oh, this is not the right way I was teaching these dudes to be like.
Oh, it's interesting. So he got some perspective on it.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's pretty wild. What Oh, and I mean, I know that he passed away, which is obviously a difficult thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, I have to imagine that you must have been really grateful to have had that time with him to connect. Did you guys? You were 17 at that point. Did you stay pretty close up until he passed away?
Yeah, because when I came back to Fresno, 18, I stayed in Fresno for a while. Then I went to West Virginia and I lived with him again. He was living in West Virginia at my great grandma's house, and so that was the first time like my dad, me, and my brother as grown men really were together.
Yeah.
So there was a bond there, and then later on, so I stayed there for about a year and a half. Came back to Fresno. We would stay connected on the phone and stuff like that.
Yeah.
My brother ended up getting into the legal trouble again. He had to do 5 years, so he's gone. So we would talk about my brother and like how like.
Do you think that might have been it too? Like, because I mean, obviously your brother seems to have followed his like trajectory closer than you did.
Yeah.
So do you think maybe there's a little bit like he was like seeing his son now acting the way he was acting and then going to jail, and then maybe that sort of woke him up a little bit too?
Yeah,
or?
like he would talk about that.
Yeah.
And my brother got it worse than me because he was more around my dad early on, and he seen more stuff like because the way his mom was, she was more out in the open with it.
Oh, sure.
So like he would see my dad have guns around the house. So,
oh my goodness.
Like stuff like that where my mom was like, "You can't come in here with that."
Oh, sure.
So
it's really your mom that kind of saved you from
from
life.
a lot of from a lot of that stuff. And so my brother, he's seen a lot of that, and then like he admired my dad. Like he wanted to be a gang. Like he would tell me like I want to. I'm like, bro, that's not okay. But like that was his whole thing. Like he was just like had a mentality of he wanted to be the baddest dude.
Right.
And I was like, okay, but all right, bro.
Yeah.
But after he got out of jail this time, he's humbled a little.
Is it? Yeah, I was gonna ask you how he's doing.
Yeah, he's
days.
humbled.
Where does he live now?
He still lives in Cleveland, Ohio. But yeah, he got humbled from that.
Good.
Yeah. But so yeah, I think seeing how his lifestyle affected his son's lifestyle, I think did soften him up and like realize, like, yo, this ain't cool.
Yeah.
So and then we linked up one more time, and that's when he came to Fresno. And he was staying at my mom's. I had to go back to my mom's house. So we were living together, and we were cool.
Yeah,
we were cool.
That's good. So he passed before you started doing comedy.
Yeah.
What do you think he'd think of you being a stand-up comedian?
It would have been interesting. I think he would have, because he would always say like, "You're a comedian, man." Like, because I would always just like mess around.
Yeah.
So I think he would have supported it. And he was a creative dude. Oh yeah, I forgot to say, like he used to rap.
Did he?
Yeah,
okay. Yeah.
That was like his passion. So he all the drug stuff and everything else, but like he used to really like be in the studio all the time.
Oh, hell yeah.
Rapping.
Yeah.
And so I grew up around that too, like just being in music studios. And
yeah.
So anyway, so the performance, like taking I think he would have been cool with it. Like doing something as performing and stuff like that.
Yeah, oh, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, this is part of the show. We're bringing him for a landing, and I usually ask for like a dad anecdote. We were talking about that. So, like your favorite story to tell about your dad. And I don't know. Do you have one? It could be funny. It could be sentimental. It could be whatever you want it to be. And if you need to take a second, like I said,
okay,
you can think about it, and I could just edit out any bit of silence.
Doom. All right. Okay. Like I said, he was a rapper. He made music. And this one time, he took us to like there was a festival going on in LA, a big rap festival. There was a lot of people there. It's crazy thing. He was with one of his friends, and they had like a tape. This is back when tapes were out. Like they had like a tape, and so this DJ's doing like a DJ set, and it was like 1,000+ people in the crowd. Then him and his friend go up to the DJ and was like, "Hey, play our song." And I'm there, just standing there like on stage, and then like he's like, "No, I don't know you guys." And they're like, "No, you're gonna play our song." And all of a sudden he was like, "All right." And so he played the track, And like at first the crowd's like, what the hell is this? And then all of a sudden I just see the crowd like they start vibing to the song, and then my dad and his friend get on stage and they kind of like lip sync the song, and I'm like there like, oh shit. Like that's the first time I've been like in front of a crowd. Oh, this is cool. Like I just seen what his music was doing, and I was like, oh dang. Like that was one of those hell yeah moments.
Fuck yeah. That's rappers and pirates, man.
Yeah,
fucking took over that ship.
Yeah,
hell yeah, dude. That's great. Isaiah, you've been an amazing guest today. Thank you so much for doing this, especially short notice. If people want more Isaiah Washington in their life, where should they go? Where should they find you?
You should find me Facebook, Isaiah Washington. Instagram.
Not the Grey's Anatomy guy.
Not the great. No, fuck him. I do not mess with him at all. Anyway, Facebook, Isaiah Washington. Instagram, no edit 559. No edit 559.
I'll link that handle.
Yeah, and YouTube, you can look at my old music videos if you really want to. No edit 559.
Awesome, dude. Well, thank you so much for doing this. You've been an awesome
thank
guest.
you.
Yeah. And we're back. Isaiah Washington, everybody. He's great. Follow him on all the social medias if you can. And we'll be back next week. I'm going to have another local, local Fresno comedian on for you guys. I'm kind of excited. Got to see who's available. I imagine everybody's available. Nobody's doing anything. But yeah, I'll be back next week. I'll have somebody for you. And that's it. You guys take care of yourselves. Be safe. And I'll catch you next time. Adios.